They are being radicalized online. They are being radicalized by their friends. We live in Florida. Everything around them in this entire system is telling your boys to be like all of those white men who voted for Trump, to hate women, to see them as property, to devalue anything that they think or do. You have to talk to them. You have to bring it up. You have to point out the system to them. You have to teach them. Have the hard conversations. Share your experience. Share your feelings. You have to talk to your sons because I promise you they are already being talked to through gaming, YouTube, everything. Their feeds are filled with rhetoric to hate women. You have to talk to your sons.
Y'all, men are not the problem. Patriarchy and the system is the problem. I have 3 sons. I am married to a man. I love men. I think men are amazing. All my clients who are men are incredible. They are struggling. They are suffering. They are in pain. And they are also participating in this system because they benefit the most from it. And so, yes, men suffer and struggle under patriarchy, and men are keeping patriarchy standing. They are supporting it. They are giving to it. They are feeding into it. And so are women. And so is everybody else. And that is why if we don't start shifting our attention to the system as men and women and as a collective and a community, no change is going to happen. So I agree. And I also disagree. I think you're genuinely asking, so I want to provide a genuine answer. Men benefit from patriarchy, but also I want to provide the examples of how this keeps men from being connected to community and it isolates them, which makes them feel lonely. And I think that's the entire argument, is that men are feeling lonely and it's all women's fault, and women are feeling scared and they're unsafe and that's all men's fault. It's like we need to clear that out and we need to say patriarchy is the problem. So while men benefit in ways in the workplace, like the wage gap, they get paid more, they get more opportunities to advance their career quicker and higher, and they just basically are invited into the good old boys club where most women are not. And if women do not subscribe to being objectified, they're definitely not invited into the good old boys club. And the reason why these seem like benefits, but they actually are harmful, is because in order to be invited into the good old boys club, most men have to conform to this ideal man. It's like the alpha man or whatever it's called. And oftentimes that means pulling away from your own experience, pulling away from your own emotions, disconnecting from yourself in order to fit into this mold and conform to this mold. And when you are disconnected from yourself, you can never be present and you can never genuinely connect with the people around you. And so for that reason alone, in the workplace, conforming to this alpha male so you can get paid more, you can advance your career more, it disconnects you from who you are and it keeps you from being able to truly, genuinely connect and feel close to others. Now, when we think about it in like a family setting and we think about it in like parental sense, yes, women are often seen as the default parent, and that can often be a benefit to men because men will benefit in having more time to focus on their career. They will have more opportunities to like self-care, to go play golf, all those stereotypical things, right? But what this does is it prevents men from really being included in their family dynamics and connecting with their children, and also having a really important role in their children's lives. Teachers, doctors, other friends' parents, they will on default typically call the mom or refer to the mom for questions and all of planning and coordinating. And what that does is that removes the dad from the experience. And so because this is often unconscious and just a default, many times dads will miss out unless they are intentional, unless they are the mom and the dad and the community around them is intentional in including the dad in the planning and the coordinating and the organizing. So I think ultimately those are just a couple of examples. But what I do think that is like the most important thing to think about when it comes to patriarchy is that men are always at the center. And I don't think that men need to be at the center, and I don't think that women need to be at the center. I think that children need to be at the center of our community. And when we center children in our community systemically, we will help adults to, like, as they grow up as children being centered in community, they will become adults who can center themselves. And when adults can center themselves, they can be more present, emotionally regulate better, and connect deeper with the people around them. And that is because they are modeled and taught that they are valuable and that they are worthy, and they will have the skills to be able to do that. So I don't know. I feel like I rambled, but I also hope that I was helpful. And I hope that this just sparks a little bit of curiosity in your own experience when you ask the question, what benefits us? What benefits men in the patriarchal system? This is just like one stop on that journey, this answer. And it's not even the most like thoughtful answer you're going to get, because many people are experts on this subject and have researched and done a lot of work. And so I hope that this just creates a little bit of spark of curiosity in your own experience, and that you start discovering how patriarchy benefits you and then make your own decision about it. But truly, I think that we all benefit better when we center children in our community, in our life, rather than centering men or centering women. Honestly, I think children should be centered. That's what I think.
Yes, it is a daily, constant curiosity that we must have for our children when it comes to the world that they exist in outside of our home. And it is exhausting and tiring. And that's why self-care, having a plan for self-care as a parent is so important, and having people around you who align with your values, because that's the world your kid exists in. But I invite all parents to take this approach of curiosity that invites kids to be more in touch with their own experience. Like asking questions of, how did that make you feel when they said that? How do you think that would make your sister, your mother, your aunt, your grandma, how do you think it would make them feel? How did it feel for you to hear people say things like that? When we can ask questions that invite our kids to be more in touch with their experience, I think it helps them to build empathy, and it helps them to connect more, like their values and their behavior. It helps it to align. So I asked my 13-year-old what he thought of my video, and then I showed him some of the comments and asked him what he thought of those. And he said that this is absolutely true. And then I asked him what was it that we did to help him learn from us. And he said that we listened. I have the honor and privilege of being a licensed therapist, and I'm so grateful. But these are the things that I did when I became a therapist that I think have completely changed the way I parent for the better. I prioritize safety in my house. Safety is the most important thing. Nothing good can come unless the environment is safe. And so because priority is safety, I take care of my mental health. I go to therapy. I work on creating boundaries in my life to make sure that I'm emotionally regulated so I can show up in a safe way for my kids. I approach every interaction with my children with intention, and I always ask myself, what is it that I want my kids to learn? And is the thing I'm doing going to help them learn that? Because often I see with parents, and in my own experience, what I think I'm teaching them is actually not the lesson they're learning. Like sometimes we get caught up in control and power struggles, and we want our kids to learn the right thing to do, but what they end up learning is that they have to follow orders, or they have to do what they're told, and they don't grow this internal or intrinsic desire to do what's right. They just do what they're told to do. And so that's not really helpful for their development, and that's not the lesson I want my kids to learn. So I want to be intentional in every interaction with my kids. Empathy is learned, and it's something I want my children to learn. And so I have to create opportunities for them to learn how to be empathetic and compassionate towards other people and towards themselves. I have to model it for them, and I also have to help them be around people that are different and diverse from them so that they can practice that skill of empathy, really, and when they can be empathetic, and that's when they really get to understand other people and other people's perspective. And I think they just become overall better people when we create opportunities for them to learn and develop the skill of empathy. Almost all of this really relies on having a good, healthy relationship with your kids. And relationships are about giving and receiving. So it's not so much about me being in charge or me getting into power struggles with my kids. It's really about slowing down, creating safety, listening, but then also participating in the give and the receive. They will give to me, and it's important that I receive it. And then I will give to them, and they will know that it's safe for them to receive it. And so what I mean by that is truly that your kids are a whole person. They have a whole life, a whole mind, creativity, thoughts, feelings, needs, and it is so essential for anything to be successful in the lessons that you want to teach, the values you want to instill in them. It's so important that you create this relationship by seeing them as a whole person and by being curious about their life and showing genuine interest in who they are as a person. And just to add to that, it's so important that parents realize they are responsible for helping their children in the decision-making process, because kids' prefrontal cortex is not developed. This part in their frontal lobe that helps them understand consequences and make decisions is not fully developed until they're in their 20s. And so it's important as the adult in their life, we help them to make those decisions, but we don't make those decisions for them. It's like a muscle that we have to help them work out, and we have to build skills in decision making. And we do this by being curious about their experience. Like an example that I have is my son had an interaction with some friends that wasn't really great for all of us. It was bad. And so instead of telling him those friends are bad and you shouldn't be around them, which is making a decision for him, we asked him, how did it feel when they did those things? What was that experience like for you? It's almost as if we could see the decision making, we could see the consequences of staying friends with these kids, but we didn't need to tell our child that. We needed to help him to understand and have that experience for himself. And really the last thing that I think is super important is I allow myself and my children to be uncomfortable. It's so important that we create space to be uncomfortable and know that it doesn't mean that something is wrong or bad, because when we can allow ourselves to be uncomfortable, we build tolerance. And that's not just tolerance for uncomfortable feelings, but it's also tolerance for new experiences and how they make us feel. And when children are able to tolerate being uncomfortable, they're going to be able to connect more with themselves and be more present, but also create safety for other people around them. And it's almost like a full circle, because here we are back where I started, where I create safety by taking care of myself and getting emotionally regulated. And I'm teaching my kids through all of this how to create safety by being emotionally regulated. I hope that this was helpful, and if you want to learn more about this kind of stuff, I'm happy to talk about it. I literally talk about it all day long, and I'm happy to do it here. So just let me know in the comments if you want to learn more.